All right. Hello, and welcome to another week of streaming. All right, I think I've got everything up where it needs to be, and I've got my phone on. All right. But there we go. Okay, so yeah, I've got earphone in. Hopefully you can't hear this. Maybe you can. Maybe I need to turn that off. But all right, back again for drawing some more. Drawing some more domestic abuse, the weekly live streaming. Oh, so off to an exciting start. So, yeah, the thing I was thinking about, before the stream started was talking about freelance, about working freelance, and the kind of pros and cons, the trials and tribulations, and kind of what to pay attention for, and just kind of based on my experience. So right now, that's mostly what I'm doing is freelance work, and it kind of came about from living in Japan, but not but wanting to keep kind of connected with creative work in the US. That's kind of my only option. It's a little difficult because of the time difference and the distance. So sometimes it's not going to be an option with certain employers, and a lot of people that are okay with it at the beginning kind of lose their patience unless they start to kind of really figure out how they can use it to their advantage. Because the thing that works really well with a really big time difference is that you can have a meeting kind of the end of their day, beginning of your day, and then while they're not in the office, while they're asleep, you can be working. So when next time they are back at work, they have something to look at. So it kind of can keep a 24-hour schedule going. I think that's a way I've heard that, film production has worked sometimes when they're doing international, when they have like second unit or something abroad, is they can look at dailies from the day before, which is actually just your night before. So it kind of can increase the pace of things, and that's an interesting advantage, and some employers may like that and like to take advantage of it. But basically, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about things you run into, and basically it's a lot of extra work, but it has a lot of advantage. And if those advantages are something that you really like, or the way that you want to work, the kind of lifestyle that you'd like to have, with a lot of time flexibility, with being able to kind of dedicate yourself to work when you want to work, and not not kind of forced to a 9 to 5 kind of schedule. Because some people are more productive, or some people have kind of different timetables, or when they can really be creative, and 9 to 5 means that that's when you're going to have to perform. And the thing that I noticed that really pushed me towards freelance was that an office job, the office work that I have, so in design departments or creative departments, and in a company, in an office, you're there 9 to 5, but your most productive time, or at least my most productive time, and when I did the most work, was maybe the first 2 or 3 hours of the morning. I could get huge amounts of things done, and then for the rest of the day, there really wasn't much else going on. Some cleanup work, some follow-up work, nothing really happened. So it was a real waste of time. You kind of felt imprisoned, because you were either waiting for changes, waiting for corrections, waiting for edits of things, and you're just kind of sitting around. And if there wasn't a crazy production schedule, you had a lot of downtime, and that's very odd. I mean, unless you're doing like really low end creative work where you're doing nothing but editing prices and dates on flyers, 8 hours a day. But work that actually was creative, it was frustrating because I had a real productive first few hours of the day and then just was stuck with nothing. Nothing going on. So I really thought that it would work much better to be able to use my own schedule and kind of work during those productive times, like work early in the morning, work late at night, and get things done at that sort of pace. And you could kind of have a really busy day. You could really put in a huge 8-12 hour day, and then have more flexible schedule, have more free time. So I really liked that. That really appealed to me, and that really fit kind of my working habits and schedule. But the difficulties that you're going to run into are many, many and vast. And one of the big things that I noticed, and I'm sure it's still the case, although telecommuting and stuff has become a bit more common, so maybe some companies are a little bit more enlightened. But if you have part of the department, if you are salaried or kind of on staff but working remotely, you have a little bit more control over your schedule. Of course, you're probably going to have to be responsible for being part of conference calls and things to kind of keep coordinated for what's going on that week. But the thing I noticed about that, so that's not really freelance, that's just kind of working remotely, is that there's a lot of resentment from the staff that is in the office, because they still have their commute and they have their lunch schedule and they have that downtime. They have the time where they're just sitting there, nothing to do, checking their email or reading Facebook or whatever, that kind of thing that develops in the in all kind of office environments when you can't possibly keep people working a solid 8 hours a day, and that weird downtime thing happens and you just feel like you're wasting. I don't know what this is. I just kind of feel like you're wasting yourself. But the resentment between the people in the office and the people working remotely is huge, and you get a lot of people just kind of pulling shenanigans and making life more difficult for you just because they want to be in that position. And usually the reason they aren't in that position is because of their skill level or their experience level or just their the position at the company. I mean, a lot of people need to be on site, especially if they're doing directly, if they're sales or whatever, they're dealing directly with meetings and people. But it's it's a little difficult to kind of balance the social part. So you lose the social part of the work. And it gets a little ugly. I think it's difficult to maintain just through like chat and email and phone calls a kind of nice relationship with some of your coworkers. So you're gonna have a little bit of uncomfortable things happening. So one of the companies that I was at, they were actually sold, and the New York company, or our department, was just going to be made redundant. They're just going to let the entire creative department go because they already had, from what the company that bought us already had that all set up. So there wasn't really anybody that was going to remain from creative. And among my coworkers at the office, nobody let us know until the very last minute that this was all going down, and so I had no way to prepare for that, and it was kind of a blow that I didn't need to take. I know I could have been looking around and been a little bit more prepared, but it was just kind of that uncomfortable situation and the resentment of people in office, that they had that information and they didn't bother sharing it because that was, and then that gave them kind of first crack. I think a lot of people got absorbed by other departments. So some of the creatives went into other positions that were available, and that was just ridiculous. And so I really lost a lot of respect for everybody that was involved in that, because that was a real cheap kind of garbage move. And and the company itself not being straightforward about that. And in fact, we got the I'm blanking on what that's called. Oh, the severance. Yeah, we got the severance package, the details in the severance package, and that included a piece of paper that we had to sign that said we will not sue them for anything that's done to us. I don't know how standard that is, but anything that was done to us because of how they handled this this sale and kind of acquisition of our company. And yeah, that was pretty poorly handled, and I lost a lot of respect for a lot of people that I was working with during that time. They could have been much more straightforward about what was going on. But even that, even the company before it was purchased was pretty dysfunctional. I mean, the people were. It was just a lot of really sad ego and things that were really distracting to the actual work itself. But so things to kind of pay attention to. So that's sorry, I'm kind of off track with that story, but things to pay attention to in those freelance situations are, you're going to be dealing with somebody, most likely you're going to be dealing with somebody that's possibly not creative. They might have like a creative, an art director or something that you're dealing with that will have some sympathies and kind of understand the process a little bit more. But a lot of the time, in my experience, you're dealing with marketing people or sales people or just different managers that have zero creative anything, but they're going to have a lot of opinions. They're going to request changes and want things done for just personal reasons, and think that they're actually feel like they're contributing, like they're really doing something by making you miserable with edits and changes and things. So be prepared for that. That's an art to learn how to tolerate and balance that kind of situation. It's something that not a lot of people can do, is balance the ego that you're dealing with and make the person feel like they're contributing, but not let them get in your way when you're doing the work. And that's a little bit difficult, because you're just gonna have to find a good balance, and just people that you can work with, people that even if they're not creative, you kind of respect their input, or they at least treat you respectfully when they're giving you when they're giving you that feedback and everything. So that's a real skill to master, is dealing with the non-creatives in that situation, and having a good relationship, communicating changes that need to be made, and schedules, and prices of things, and all of that, dealing with that, as well as actually getting the work done. So that's where freelance becomes much more cumbersome and much more complicated. Is you have the freedom of schedule, but your time is not only spent doing the work. So you're in the office and you're basically only doing that work, and that's why you always have too much time in those situations. But when you're working at home, you never have enough time, because not only are you doing the creative work, you're also chasing down your invoices, you're also fighting over price, and you're constantly trying to get new work, because you're not going to be able to just rely on a single client to pay you enough to kind of keep you supported. So you're going to constantly be looking for new work, chasing down, getting paid for old work, and then keeping everything going. So a lot of the time is spent, and I think if you've looked into this at all, you've heard this from other sources, I'm sure. But the getting paid part of freelance is probably what you're going to spend maybe half of your time doing, and that's frustrating, because you're really going to feel the how much you lose from actually sitting down and doing the work. You're not going to have that. So if you like security and steady paychecks and things, then in the office with that kind of imprisoned feeling, that, you know, dead imprisoned feeling, is probably the best situation for you. But if you like to control more of your own schedule and, you know, feel like you have the ability and kind of the people skills to balance things and work through, work with difficult people and work through kind of more complicated situations and creative differences, and, you know, arguing over money and getting paid and things, then freelance is definitely a good way to go. And you're really not going to know if you're good at it or if you can tolerate it until you try it. So especially as a student, it's probably a good time to try to get a taste or some experience of working freelance for people, and just see how miserable that makes you, and if it's actually something you can, if it's something that you can do. I mean, you're definitely, as a student, you're definitely going to get abused and taken advantage of, and probably be working for free if they're going to even pay you anything. But it will give you experience in just kind of dealing with, you know, rounds of edits. How many changes are you going to allow somebody to do? You know, can you draw the line at keeping, you know, kind of things under control and not let people eat up your time? And also, do you have the ego to kind of, or the ego, but the, you know, kind of understanding of your abilities to know that, to not let people push you too far, and to try to haggle based on, oh, you know, you're not talented, or we don't like this work, or you're not doing anything, you know. That's a real common tactic for people to negotiate price or to try to get free work from you, is to suddenly be incredibly displeased with your style or your ability or whatever. And that's just to kind of, you know, fight for a discount. And that's a real frustrating thing. And you have to kind of know yourself and know your skill level to not fall victim to that, because everybody tries that. And I think the, you know, less reputable or, you know, kind of shadier companies will do that. They'll try to take advantage. So when it comes time to get you paid, or if things are going over budget, or if you've worked too many hours on something because they keep requesting changes, they're suddenly going to get really unhappy with your work. And that's going to be their justification for either not paying you or paying you less, you know, kind of trying to modify the agreement. So you've just got to be prepared for things like that, because, you know, they will happen, and you're going to be dealing with unscrupulous people. That's how they always get things under budget, is they just find a place to make shortcuts. And very often that's the creative side of things. They're going to take advantage of creatives because they know that they're a little more fragile, and the quality of work and, you know, output and everything is very subjective and differs from artist to artist. And so they can suddenly get very unhappy with you for a discount, you know, for you know, having some justification not to pay you. So that's a miserable part of it. And if that just is too much, then it may not be worth freelance. And the other thing that goes along with that is then, of course, chasing down getting paid. And so you're not even going to be probably dealing with the manager or the art director or whoever you were dealing with for the work itself and the edits and, you know, what you needed to do for them. You're going to be dealing with the accounts receivable, the, you know, billing department, and sending them an invoice. And so basically you're talking to an accountant or some, you know, assistant at that level. And, you know, they're going to be told something from management about, you know, stall this jerk until, you know, you can get, we can push this into next month. You know, we want to pay everything in March, or we don't want it. We don't want any more, you know, invoices to go through until April, and you're just going to be stuck in these situations. So it was really common to be, you know, kind of 90 days out on everything that I was paid. And so if you're not having a lot of overlapping jobs, that 90 days is excruciating. I mean, it's 3 months of, you know, worrying about the rent and, you know, your utilities and things, and not having the money coming in. So even if it was a good job and you dedicated a lot of time, you really have to manage that time, because you can't give over, you know, too much to a large project if they're not paying you anything in advance and they're just saying, oh, just invoice us. And then you're dealing with somebody delaying you. And so kind of expect, 90 days out. I think that's 60 days, 90 days is pretty standard as far as paying invoices. So if somebody is really exciting, has fun work for you, you're doing great stuff, and then it's just, okay, just invoice us. You got to be really careful about that, because you can, end up dealing with, if you're counting on that money, you can't count on it soon. And so just kind of build that into your expectations, and things will work much better that way. Just kind of, you're going to be doing the work, and then there's going to be a delay before you're going to see any compensation for it, and just kind of get used to that system. And so, have your work staggered, do a lot of smaller jobs or whatever that maybe you can get better turnaround, or just, deal with companies, where they're going to pay you quickly. So I've been really happy lately. Everybody that I've been working with is really immediate and really, there's going to be a little bit of a delay, and sorry about that, and kind of apologetic for, making you wait for stuff. And so that's really nice. It's a really nice difference. It's because I'm working with smaller clients. When you're working with big companies, that's just their automatic, just bill us, just invoice us, and we'll get that paid for you. And it's always, everyone's got an excuse. Everyone's kind of, finding a way to tell you, they're not responsible for you not being paid or you waiting or whatever. So you're going to get a lot of that. And just don't let that, because, really it is, if you have worked in an office, it's just the art of pushing everything onto somebody else, make it somebody else's responsibility and just dodge that. I've got family members that are incredibly good at doing that. So that's how you build a career, is you just pass everything that goes wrong onto somebody else. So remember that's the kind of work culture, or kind of more corporate-y office culture, and don't let that ruin relationships. If you're not getting paid, chances are the person you dealt with to do the work is not the reason for that, and don't take it out on them. Be very polite and gracious and things, and because they may not have anything to do with it, then they're just going to say, well, that should have been taken care of, that should be in the mail to you, you should have that by now. That's all you're going to hear from them. And don't let that frustrate you and make you angry enough that you're going to ruin the possibility of future work, because more than likely that's not their job. That's not their responsibility. They're not dealing with that at all. So your frustration with them is only going to hurt your chance for future work. But if the company is that bad, and they kind of, play around with you a little too much with getting paid, then it may not be worth it. So I've had situations like that where I really love the people that I was working with, but I couldn't get paid. So the management or whoever was just, trying to control monthly invoicing or monthly, outgoing, through accounts receivable, made things miserable. So it was great work, great people to work with, but getting paid was miserable. And so, you just had to kind of give that up if it's not if that just becomes impractical. You just have to make those decisions, and they're really hard decisions, because especially with creative work, it's so much easier to work with people that you like and to do the kind of work that you like. So that's just one of those, unlucky combinations when you have a company that doesn't pay in a timely fashion, doesn't pay very easily, but you're doing great work. You gotta make that decision. How much of that frustration are you going to be willing to tolerate, and when are you gonna call it quits, give up on that? So that's a thing. It's very individual and very personal. You have to kind of figure that out for yourself, because along with freelance, just like working in an office, you got the commuting stress and social stress, business kind of office politics stress. The stress that you have to manage from freelance is a little bit different in that way. You just have to, you're testing your personal limits, and you have to manage that stress and make sure that you're, being rewarded, being compensated for your time, and that things are in a, decent balance. And, maintaining that balance is not easy. And knowing when things are getting kind of unbalanced is, kind of also hard to know, because, once you start sticking your nose into your work and really focusing on that, you let a lot of other things go. And so that's not a great thing to do when you're dealing with freelance. You have to be able to kind of, refocus and always be paying attention to all of those things, how much time you're spending, how much you're getting paid, the kind of work you're doing, the kind of people you're dealing with, and then future jobs, the future prospects of getting, more work, more projects, more assignments from those same people or, various people. So it's a difficult balance, but, if you can manage it, if you can tolerate those sorts of difficulties, then I think you can be happy, be pretty happy with the kind of freelance life. And it's a lot of the time too, it's very feast or famine kind of feeling. You either have too much work or no work, and so that's a common feeling. Is either you're being pulled too many different directions, or you literally have nothing to do, and you're just updating your portfolio and trying to chase new work. So kind of be prepared for that. So put it away for a rainy day kind of thing. When you're getting all those, you're getting paid and doing all that thing, don't just remember there's going to be lean times that you're going to need that money for, and just try to keep everything balanced and kind of in perspective. So so that's a little bit of a spiel. I'm not really getting much drawn here, but that's a little bit of a spiel about freelance and kind of things to pay attention to. And my one kind of funny warning, and this has happened to me I think 3 times now, I would warn anybody that, especially if you're dealing with directly with like a smaller company and the owner of the company, if the this is just funny to me because it's happened so many times. The owner of the company is obsessed with their dog, and they want to include their dog in every project that you do, or really would like to see your version of their dog included in whatever. Then I would see that as a flag, as a red flag, a little bit of a warning. I've had a lot of at least 3 situations that I can think of off the top of my head where that was a huge thing, where I was going to be drawing somebody's dog, and that's just the worst. I mean, that just feels really disrespectful and really amateur, and I don't think people really know how badly they're coming across when they're letting their obsession with their pet, kind of get into their business life. But and maybe it's just my bad luck. Maybe that's just me. Maybe you'll never have to deal with somebody's pet in your work, but that could be a thing. So if that comes up, I warn you. You have been warned. Maybe I should say it that way. You have been warned. Do not let that get in your way, and kind of question the professionalism and the thinking of anybody that needs to make their pet. I always suspected Zynga. What was that game company? I think they're dead now. That mobile game company that was kind of really cranking stuff out once upon a time. I think it was Zynga, Zynga, but their logo looked like a Rottweiler, or it was a silhouette of a dog. I would bet anything that's the owner of the company's dog. Just ugh. That's a real, that should be a real warning, real red flag. But I always had that feeling, because that stuff always feels so unprofessional, and you see that surprisingly often. There are people that just, their pets are their lives, and I guess if their work has become their life, their pet is their child, because they maybe didn't have time for a family. But so keep an eye out for that kind of nonsense. But so that was kind of what I had in mind. I don't know about that. What I had in mind with the just talking about freelance. It's not easy, and it's real brutal, on your ego and your sense of your own ability and stuff, because just like I think actors auditioning for things, most of the time you're gonna you're going to be really questioning yourself. The reason you're not getting work, or the reason that someone's dissatisfied with you, is that all your fault? It's hard to put things in perspective and really understand, people's motivations and why they're, why they're dissatisfied, or, all those sorts of things. It gets pretty complicated. And, you just got to be strong with that stuff. And also just, be willing to give up work if things are just getting too out of hand, too abusive. Because it's always healthier to be broke and not feel insulted and incompetent. Because I think there's some people that's kind of their management style, or their control technique, is to just keep you feeling like you can barely do the job. And a little bit, I guess there is always, that's kind of part of being creative, I think, in any, until you're very accomplished and have kind of these things that have shown you your ability. I think there is always that imposter syndrome, kind of that feeling. I don't know if that's an actual name of something, but that feeling that you're just a fake, you're just a fraud, and you've kind of just kind of scammed your way into a work situation, and you can't really do this, and some people are going to find out, and there's always a little bit of that feeling until you've had enough reassurance in your career, and enough kind of positive reinforcement from either the work you've done or people you've worked with, or whatever, that you're good at something, and you're competent, and you're producing well. And I think that's that just depends on the kind of work. I think some people feel that to a greater or less extent, just based on the kind of work they're doing, because some stuff is hard to be bad at. some simple graphics work doesn't take much ability, but it's the things where you are actually creative, where you're doing something from nothing, where you're creating novel concepts or designs or ideas from absolutely nothing but the client's kind of thinking, or their kind of their original image, or their original concept, or the initial concepts. You're trying to take that further and breathe life into that. That is a difficult thing to feel that you're getting good at. But yes, but don't let that let that defeat you. Just kind of that fake it until you make it kind of feeling. Just kind of have that attitude where, maybe I'm not great at this, but I'm competent enough that I'm convincing enough that I can kind of keep doing this. So don't worry so much about those feelings of insecurity with creative work, because it's always going to be there until you've gotten so much. And I think even people that have had a lot of success and awards and have built their reputation still get that feeling, because you do sometimes just kind of dry up as far as inspiration or ideas, and that's when you start to question, was I ever good at this? Why am I so why is there nothing there? Why is nothing coming? And was I ever good at this? Was it just a little bit of luck, a little bit of coincidence that I ended up doing this at all as work? So just be aware of that can happen at all levels. And I think that's a healthy thing to kind of keep you always pushing forward and trying to be better. If you think you're not good enough, you're going to try to be better. If you're convinced you're amazing, you're probably going to plateau and start creating some really mediocre work. So, oh my God, I'm trying the same line a million times today. Yeah, just a little bit off in lots of ways. So be careful with that, because it is a thing. And if you haven't felt it yet, you probably will sometime in your career. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with this spoon. You've got a couple of different weird angles going here. Yeah, I can't get the roundness of it. Yeah, it just might be that angle I've got the tablet at. That's a little strange. So yeah, that's about all the rant I have with Freelance. There was, yeah, I think I kind of covered everything. It's just always going to be ups and downs. I'm going to work with good people and you're going to work with terrible people, and I think any career is going to be full of that. So enjoy the good times and the good projects, and get the bad stuff over as quickly as you can. I'm just okay. Let's just get rid of that. Yeah. So just yeah, always keep that in mind and kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, or be aware that there'll always be an end. Even the worst project will eventually end or lose funding, hopefully. And yeah, that's or something to pay attention to. Oh, I don't know where I'm going with any of this stuff. Sorry. Yeah, so let me put the pen down for a minute here. Yeah, I hope the camera's looking okay. I adjusted it some more, the backlit situation. I don't think any camera is handling this particularly well, because it is a because it is a little tricky to have, be able to see out the window and then not have it be too much in shadow. I think that the old camera, that was the big problem, is I was kind of constantly in silhouette, which this is fine. All right. But yeah, if you're in the middle of some frustration with that sort of thing, just hang in there. It won't last forever. And it's good to share. Like, if you've got that's always a good thing to have, is just kind of support from other people that are kind of doing that same thing, or can at least understand what you're going through. And to know that you're not alone, or you're not making this up, that it is actually really happening. It is a frustrating, difficult situation. I think that's a good, what's going on? That's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to be able to do, is deal with that. Oh, where'd my little coffee cup go? There's that horrible spoon. It did make it. Okay. All right. Is this it? No. Okay, let's get rid of that then, if it's nothing. All right. Okay, so actually I'm going to need to take a break for a second, so sorry about that. I'll try to make this as quick as possible, but that's going to be a real treat in the archive, I'm sure, is a couple of minutes of nothing in the middle. So we'll see. Maybe I can trim that out. I'm not sure. Not sure how doable that is. I don't think, as far as YouTube, I think you can trim the ends, but I don't think you have much editing capability of the clips themselves. So we may just have to deal with that. But I'm apologizing for it now. So if you're watching this in the archive and you were sitting there wondering when I was coming back, I'm back and I'm sorry. Okay, let's put that there. So something like this. I don't know what the idea is, but something along those lines. So let's do this and then go back to here. All right, so I have to be careful. I think I'm running out of the caffeine and everything that got that whole rambling started. So, oh yeah, oh boy, and we're almost at an hour, 50 minutes. And now you've heard just about everything that I've had to say about freelancing, so enough of that. Yeah, I wonder how much that I should be watching when there's really loud road noise behind me. I wonder how much you're hearing of that. It's yeah, I don't have this microphone isn't turned up that loud, so it should just be picking up, you know, what's relatively around it. I think the gate is pretty good, so that it has to be pretty loud and maybe bouncing around in this room before you're going to hear it on the mic, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but that's real Japanese road noise you're hearing. So a bunch of tiny cars making a lot of noise. Yeah, let's see what else. So let's get rid of that. Not that spoon again. All right, so let's see what else. So that pen, get rid of that. There might be pen cases, huh? Not that. Not that. Let's fill this guy maybe. Yeah, because he's in front. All right. Oh, there's an ambulance, if you can hear that. Yeah, I'm not in love with... Whoa! I'm not in love with this drawing. Yeah, maybe just getting rid of a few lines like this, I think I can do as a highlight to make this look a little bit better. Yeah, I don't know what it is that I dislike so much about this, but there's some ugliness. So I'll just play around a little bit. Yeah, maybe just doing a lot of that as just more rendering and not lines might make this look nicer and more plastic too. I think that's a oops. I think that's a thing that will help. This isn't gonna work. I just can't get in there. Well, we'll keep at it. All right. Yeah, maybe that is enough. Okay, well, let's go with something like that. Okay, and maybe one more to kind of get the the whole idea across. And I think I'm probably drawing very Japanese type objects, so I'm not sure how recognizable this is going to be. But maybe visually a little interesting. I don't know. We'll see. Actually, yeah, I guess this is going to be miserable to fill, but nice detail. So a soft pen case. Yeah, so this is definitely the land of pen cases. I mean, if you have a stationery store fetish, you know, Japan will keep you happy. Along those lines, there's a million kinds of pens and a million kinds of things to put pens in, and a million different kinds of ink for those pens, and all sorts of craziness. I think anybody that's been here knows that that's a big part of the some of the you know, unique shopping and unique things of Japan are the what's going on? The amount of pen and pen related items. Maybe I want this bigger, actually. The line's looking kind of thin. Something like that. Yeah, not that interesting visually, I don't think. Yeah, I guess that'll work. So things that hold pens and pencils, wishing for some. That's going to be a joy to write. Okay, so we've got that. So we got this guy and this guy. So I was thinking of a completely creative coffee break, some sort of creative lunch. Oh. Oh. All right. Wow. Yeah, no energy today. This is bad. All right, so let's try to color some of this stuff before I completely lose it here. We'll go with the this kind of coffee cup color. And then I'll need to double check I'm actually doing this on the right layer. Hey, I am. That's odd. Usually I start coloring only to realize that I'm not coloring where I need to be. All right. And maybe toast, so a little browner. And then crust can be even more along those lines, something like that. And then coffee color. All right. Okay. So something like that. Yeah, just not super inspired. So fighting past the lack of inspiration. That's what you're doing. So you're watching it in action. I'm fighting the temptation to just give up on this mess. Yeah. So try to do a little toasted look. Why is this so light? Oh, because the opacity is so bad. And I want to keep that off the pen, so I'm probably going to have to just erase that myself. All right. And then try this. Hello. All right. Uh-oh, getting a weird. Oh boy, what is that? Okay, something like that. And then lighten that a little bit. So I just want it to look toasty. All right, so let's keep going here. And maybe we'll do some. Oh, I'm gonna switch back to our pencil. And get the colors selected. So let's go in here and put this on the cup. Just give a little variety to that. Yeah, I'm having trouble with my curves today. All right. Maybe do that. All right, let's put some shadow on top of that. Oh, all right. Yeah, so just kind of putting some basic shadowing in here to give this some interest, some variety. Yeah, I'm still trying to decide how that should look. Yeah, I think it's okay. Is this actually white? Yeah, I guess it is. All right. And so then a little bit of actual pure white, which is, I don't know if I have that, but let's try. Yeah, you just get a little bit more contrast. All right. And especially on the pen, yeah, that'll look nice. Maybe even a little bit on the toast. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it just happens. I just drop off my energy level. Because it's too caffeine related. I just stop talking at a certain point. I guess when I'm trying to actually get something done. That'll happen. Yeah, the blue isn't great, but yeah, I guess that works. All right. Okay. We'll go with that. Maybe we'll do a little, I always enjoy the, oh, yeah, maybe not. It's going to have to be above shadows. Yeah, maybe not. We won't do any coffee outside of the, well, let's try. See what this looks like. Yeah, good enough. All right, and maybe a little toast. Put some texture on that, and then just it's still very I guess just desaturate the that color. There we go. But now that really needs to go away. Yeah, give it a toasty texture. All right, something like that. Yeah, I still have, with the window behind me, I still have a glare on my tablet, which is a little annoying. Could work better. Okay. And then a nice pencil cup color. Ugh, what would that be? Maybe more just a green, one of those ugly greens would be nice. Then I can get brighter with some of this other stuff. Let's see. Just gray? Yeah, maybe just a gray. Yeah, that'll work. And then we actually need to put this green in here and then come up with a golden brassy color. And that's another thing to remember too when you're coming up. Yes, I know I was going to hate this. When you're coming up with, you know, kind of your color designs is, you know, your colors are in, you know, context or kind of in relation to each other. So when you're choosing color, something that you think may not look good by itself, you're you know, actually looking at how it is as opposed in contrast or opposing the other color. So that's all. Remember to kind of, you're keeping that in balance, if that makes sense. I might need to do a lighter version of this just on the outside. Yeah, let's try that, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get quite that from just the shadows. Yeah, we'll try that. Okay. Okay, so just kind of render some of this. So that's interesting and textured and all that good stuff. Oh, so something else to talk about. Yeah, so they sure have a lot of stationery shops in Japan. Yeah, you can spend a lot of money on pens and file folders and things here. It's pretty funny. So I think there's must be a bit of competition. I think in some schools kind of choose to limit, you know, what students are able to bring in, you know, not having certain character goods and things in class because it's distracting, I think is common thinking here. But there sure is a lot of it. Yeah, something like this. Make this a little more interesting. Okay. Yeah, still, I'm not going to be getting the... Yeah, so I'm glad I did that extra change in the color because I'm not getting the kind of range I was hoping for with the highlight. So that's good. Yeah, see on this lighter one, it's not very visible. Probably just have to do white. But again, try to get, catch that edge so it's visually a little bit more interesting. And a little bit of, gives a little bit of contrast. Yeah, and maybe here as well. That may have to be actually just white. So if I do this, that's gonna have to be thin though. Yeah, it's gonna have to be really thin. But there we are. Okay, that's working enough. Okay, I think we can be happy with that sort of thing. And I guess it's all. We'll do some layer coloring here. Oh, good. Yeah, the orange shows up enough. Ooh, the gold doesn't though, so this is probably gonna have to be, yeah, this as well. But that'll keep it very metallic looking. That contrast, always reads metallic. Sure it does. All right, we'll just go with that. And then some shadow on the ground to kind of put them in this space a little bit more. Yeah, that's the thing that has to be funny watching this stream is you can just watch me make mistakes that I may not even catch myself. So that must be fun. Be like, oops, see what you did there, missed a spot. Good fun. Yeah, we'll do that. Sorry, get that out of the way. Is it in frame? Oh no, it's not quite in frame. Yeah, my microphone is just out of frame. So hopefully it's picking up well enough. Ah. There we go. All right, something like that. Be a little bit, make this look a little more plastic. I've been doing a lot of that lately. I don't know if it's a good look or not, but yeah, kind of making things a little shinier. Okay, and then some eyes. Yeah, I like, for some reason it always amuses me to have the eyes kind of in the shadows, the shaded part of the object, so it looks like they're, looking from the shadows, or just, looks sadder. I don't know why. All right, so some empty pen receptacles and our amazing creative lunch break. Oh. All right. Wow. Amazing. Sorry, I'm gonna stretch on this here. Oh. Okay. So there's our two. Yet? Sorry. I just found another keyboard shortcut. So interesting. I think I figured something out. So whatever you name your scene in the software that I'm using, the first letter, if you push that on the keyboard, it goes to the shot. So yeah, if I want to tell you to be right back, I can just hit B and it goes to be right back. Interesting. Anyhow, learning on the job experience here. Okay, so damn. All right. So I'm not in that software. I'm in Photoshop. Jeez. Sorry about that. But that's an interesting thing to know. I guess for like kind of live control, you can switch around between various stuff. All right, so let's, I don't need the stylus. Let's just do some writing here. So the idea for this was just a creative break, or just trying to be creative in their break time, coffee time, breakfast snack. What is this? I don't know. What is it? Let's see. Yeah, so including something creative in the break time. Yeah, something like that. Creative work. Where's the stripes on this cup? Here? There we go. Maybe a little bit less. Yeah, something like that. There was a strange sound. Oh, I think that might be the fan on my computer making that lovely, strange sound. Hopefully you can't hear that. Okay. Yeah, so... yeah, I'm not sure where to go. I have to talk through that one as well. Okay, and this is just... they needed to kind of question what they would be holding or what they should be holding. And I guess I maybe should have made this orange one open so you saw that it was empty, but we'll just assume it was empty. Yeah, actually, the eyes on this guy could probably go a little bit more that way. And his, oh, no, should be, what's going on here? Oh, there. I guess I have to be in the selection to make that work. Okay, there we go. It's a little better. Oh. Yeah. Maybe that suspicion is funnier than them all being sad about not having pens, so... Yeah, so something about only one of them possibly containing pens. I like that idea. Oh. So not containing pens left most of them with an identity crisis, something along those lines. Without pens, they grew suspicious. They were suspicious. OIOUS. They were suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Still had pens? Still contained pens? Yeah, I like that kind of nonsense. Not nonsense, but the kind of, playful idea. Like you're setting up some premise that's never going to pay off, or some, silly idea. So I like suspicion. So they were suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Yeah, and maybe the position of the eyes gives you that little bit of that back and forth. So read, picture, read, and then back up to the picture. It gives you enough of that, I hope. Yeah, they're suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Okay, I like that. That's what's working for me. And this we have to deal with. So, yeah, the idea was that having creative... oh, the need to be creative. I think that's pretty funny. The need to be creative had even invaded break time. The need to be creative had invaded. I don't know. That's not so good. The need to be creative had even invaded break time. That's not nice. The need to be creative, I think, is funny. The need to be creative. Extended itself to breakfast, continental breakfast. Creative, low-end creative continental breakfast. Yeah, it has to be something, of course, with the pen on the toast or pen on the bread needs to be doing something. A creative response to running out of jelly, to having no... Yeah, what's funnier, jelly or jam? Neither is very funny. It was a creative response to... yeah, marmalade was funny. I want to say marmalade, but... Yep. What else? Butter. A creative life still didn't make up for a lack of butter. Oh, that's just too random and odd, right? A creative life didn't make up for a lack of butter. Oh, I'm trying here. Let's see. Creativity was no. Okay, that might be it. See, you just got to sit here like an idiot until you make yourself laugh. Creativity. Ugh. Replacement for butter. Creativity was a poor replacement for butter. Yeah, what was that exactly? Was no substitute. Yeah, maybe. Was no substitute for butter. Was no substitute for. Creativity was no substitute for butter. I don't know. It makes me laugh, but it's not funny. That's sad. Creativity was no substitute for butter. See, I guess that's it. That's all you've got. That's your barometer. That's how you measure something. I just, move the idea around until it makes me laugh. So creativity was no substitute for butter. And they were suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Well, I guess I can't. Well, okay, there we go. Let's check the spelling too. Suspicious. Okay. They were suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Some of them? No, that's being too wordy. They were suspicious that one of them still contained pens. Yeah, okay. Containing of pens. Creativity was no substitute for butter. Okay, that works. That one makes me laugh. I don't know why. Okay, so the 2 cartoons for this week. They were suspicious that one of them still contained pens, and creativity was no substitute for butter. Duh. All right. Well, that's what we did this week. So I hope your freelance career is going strong, or soon will be. So hang in there, and always, get in touch in the comments or on Twitter if you want to go back and forth about any of these issues. And always rely on other people, networking and kind of being connected with other creative people. And, if you're better at something than they are at other things, it's a good balance to get each other work. So always keep that in mind. Keep connected with other creative people and see what they're doing, and just at least be inspired by their creativity or their productiveness, if that's a word. Okay. Anyhow, thank you for joining me, and please follow on Twitter at abusecartoons, and abusecartoons.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitch TV /abusecartoons, and Instagram as well, instagram.com/abusecartoons or at abusecartoons. And I've said that too many times. And if you would like to support this cartoon and see it turn back into a daily cartoon, as well as get some signed original art or a book, please consider supporting me on Patreon. So patreon.com/abusecartoons. And there you can pledge just a little bit, or pledge, I guess, just a little bit to help this grow and become a more daily occurrence. And so, more interaction, more cartoons, and everything. So that would be amazing. So please consider it. And until next time, I will see you next week. And please like and subscribe if this is on YouTube. YouTube. Right. So until next week, goodbye.